Again, my name is Fanny Barrientos, and I'm so happy that you could join us today. This is How to Succeed in Marketing Your Practice Online. So today we're going to be going over a variety of things concerning digital marketing with a short introduction first, and then I'll be talking about your website and elements that are important for your website and a few considerations that you should take into account. I'll also be covering search engine optimization, which goes over organic rankings, social media management, pay-per-click advertising, which refers to paid listings on a search engine results page. And I will also be providing some additional resources that you could download if you'd like additional information on any of these topics. So before we really dive in, let's talk about mechanics. So what's the difference between two mechanics? And if you've ever been in this situation, then you definitely know what matters to you when you're choosing a mechanic for your car. So assuming that the types of cars they can work on and the services they offer are roughly the same, why would a customer pick one mechanic in town over another? And the answer is marketing, essentially. The thing is that, like with mechanics, perception is reality when it comes to your dental practice. How potential patients feel and what they think about your practice doesn't have to make logical sense, and it's not really rational most of the time. So for example, maybe there's some feelings of nostalgia about a mom and pop shop, or maybe a mom and pop dental practice. There are a lot of practices where they're handed down from, parent to child. And then, maybe some people may feel that a smaller shop or a smaller practice may give them a little bit more personalized attention. The thing is that healthcare is about trust, so a patient must believe 100% in the abilities of their provider, you, before going to you. And marketing helps you communicate that belief before you've even had a chance to work with the patient. So for example, the thought process may be they must be good if they have a nice website, lots of likes on Facebook, and can afford to run ads. And I've actually had a little bit of experience with this myself. My fiance and I were looking for a dentist because we had recently moved, and we went to a dentist and we looked online, and he verbatim made the comment that the website looked a little untrustworthy. I'm not really sure which elements he was pointing to exactly quite just yet, but it looked a little untrustworthy, so he didn't really want to go to this dentist, and we ended up choosing another dentist over the one we were originally looking at. So it is something that happens. And then also, awareness means action, of course. To ensure that you are on potential patients' minds, they have to know you exist. So think about it. What's the difference between your dental practice and others? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about your website. And let's cover why you need it first. I know that a lot of you already have a website, but this will be a really good review for those of you that may not or have not updated your website in a very long time. So a website is necessary to build confidence. Customers now look up everything online before they buy a product. It really is everything, anywhere from a face mask, to a car. You want to look at reviews to a car. It really doesn't matter the level of expense. You want to know what you're getting into. So it's important to convey the image to prospective patients that you are what they're looking for and therefore can entrust your practice with their health. It also, with a website, you can control the message. How you present yourself is the first step in building your reputation as a professional, which sort of, touches on my experience with my fiance. And that way your website is the one place online where you get to decide everything that is said. And then also it's to provide information. Current and potential patients visit your website looking for facts about your dental practice. It could be, as simple as your hours when you're open, what types of insurance you take, what types of services you provide. And just having basic information on your website like that eliminates the need to contact you for common questions that could save you and your staff time. So when you have a website, there's a couple of things you should consider if you're buying a new one, or if you already have one, maybe it can help you reevaluate who your provider is. First is who's going to build it or who has built it. You can save time by finding a company who provides and manages the technical aspects of your website. I know when a lot of people think about their website, they may think, oh, I can, write a web page. That's not difficult. But uploading a web page and laying it out correctly requires a little bit of knowledge and coding. So, that's something to consider. Also consider how it will look. Again, this kind of plays into a prospective patient's perspective or how they perceive your practice. So your website should have a pleasant design, have organized information, and a personal touch. And then also, how are you collecting patient info? Your website should have forms to collect basic patient information from people that want to go to you. Another thing, or a few other things, is ease of navigation. So this contributes to user experience, which can affect how long visitors stay on your site and whether they decide to contact you. The other thing would be your content. What you say and how you say it should be an extension of your practice's voice and brand. And then finally, you should take into consideration how your website shows on a mobile device, because more than half of the population accesses websites from their smartphone or their tablet. Okay, so a few pitfalls to avoid when you're either setting up a website or considering a new website provider, or even just evaluating your current website. Avoid needless complexity. Don't make your website too busy or too unique where it's hard to find information. The other is failing to update your website. So periodically check your website to ensure that all information is up to date. It can be as simple as, a staff member moving on to another opportunity. You may need to remove them from your website, or, having an associate dentist that just joined. Maybe you have a new dentist that you refer to or have new referrals coming to you. Either way, this information is important, so you'll want to update your website accordingly and keep it current. And then also DIY without experience. It's very easy to run into problems due to lack of experience with the technology and lack of experience with marketing best practices. All right, so I'm going to show you guys an example of a website, and this is actually just my own. It's just a sample website that I have. So here what we can see is, here's my name. There's a nice little headline here. What you see here is up here, it's very intuitive. You can see the phone number. It's very easy to contact. And on a mobile device, these are click to call icons, so people can click on it and call you directly from their phone. And these are really obvious to patients that are looking at it. This is to call, schedule an appointment, email, or find where you are. The design is very pleasing. As you can see, I chose purple because that's my favorite color. And then there's some content here, which of course can be customized and even includes internal links to other pages to help patients guide them to next steps on the page. All right, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but please review this so that you could see how navigation, contact info, patient tools, design layout, color scheme, and relevant images tie back to the live example here. You can go ahead and click on that and pull up the example I just showed you. Okay. So here are some additional resources on websites specifically that I would highly recommend. These are our own blog posts and white papers that we provide to help you learn a little bit more about digital marketing. And you'll see a list of resources after each section so you know which channel of digital marketing this is referring to. So I would recommend that you go through these and just kind of read through and find out a little bit more on some websites, and then of course download the white paper 10 best practices for creating great dental websites. This will definitely help you evaluate your existing site, or if you're buying a new site, guide you into what you should be looking for from a website provider that should provide these best practices. The next is search engine optimization. So the reason we're talking about search engine optimization is essentially because just having a website is not enough. You need to be found as well. And so the first thing that comes to mind when you need to be found is Google. And that's really where search engine optimization comes in. So let's talk a little bit more about why you need it. Only the first page is seen. If someone really, on a 80% of the time, people only look at the first page. If someone searches dentist in your area, wherever you may be, 10 practices at most will be viewed as the answer to that question because there are 10 results on a page. The other thing too is that competition is fierce for showing up online. So search engine optimization helps you overcome competitors on a search engine results page. So unless your practice resides in a town with only a handful of dentists, chances are you're likely competing with other dentists in the same location. And Google will actually identify the most relevant dental practice in search results based on various factors. The other thing is humans and crawlers need to know you. The purpose of SEO is to create positive signals that tell crawlers your site is relevant to searchers and the information that they are looking for. So a couple of things to consider about SEO. Since this is something that is based on organic listings, there is no instant gratification with SEO. It takes approximately 3 to 6 months to see really any results if you're implementing it regularly. So it can take some time, and SEO is something you really need to plan ahead if you have a specific time of year that you want to target. So for example, maybe the end of the calendar year when everybody's trying to use up their benefits, you should really start considering SEO in the summer so that you will be ready by the time that comes around. The next is backend optimization. So what that's referring to is really the coding, and that's something that's important to SEO, the structure of your page and all the HTML with tags, title tags, metadata, all of that. That is all something that needs to be optimized, and it's going to require some level of coding. And then the next is going to be on-page optimization. This is somewhat referring to the content that you see on your page, the actual copy. And while there are many factors around it, one of the primary factors is optimizing copy so that it sounds good, it sounds natural, but it also contains the keywords that searchers would use in order to find that page. So I'll show you what I mean on metadata, because that's usually where I kind of lose a lot of dentists. So metadata is essentially, it's English, it's copy, but it's coded into the structure of your page and not necessarily evident when you look at a web page. But it's important because what it does is, you can see here, let me just pull out my little laser pointer. This here is actually coded into the page, and it is how it shows on a search engine results page. This is important because it essentially convinces someone to click through to your page, and this is how you convert searchers into website visitors. So that's the step, right? So first they look for you, they're on the search engine results page, you convince them to click through to your page, and you've converted that searcher into a website visitor. Not quite a potential patient yet, but a website visitor. All right, so I said that there was a lot of metadata that needs to be coded in. One of the more important ones is this one, the blue text you see here. That's called a title tag. And one of the keys to getting a page found in searches is actually this, the title tag. It must contain keywords like your city and the fact that you do dentistry, and then make some kind of statement or offer. So for example, this one has a call to action, the call to action being visiting Catherine Bell DDS in Temecula, California. The next important piece is the URL. This here is going to be how your page shows up at the very top of a browser. And this ideally includes some keywords as well, and should be easy to read. Sometimes people put in something kind of weird like numbers, or I'm not really sure, just random information. But it is an opportunity for you to include more keywords, and you should take advantage. The next is going to be a meta description. Now, a meta description doesn't directly affect your rankings like a title tag might, but what it does do is it helps improve what's called a click-through rate, which is how often someone clicks through to your website. So it expands on a little bit more on what they're getting into by clicking through to the page, so they can actually decide whether they want to move on to that page or not. Okay, a couple more things to consider are backlinks and social media. So backlinks are essentially hyperlinks from other websites, like an association directory that links back to your site. And those are powerful signals that actually influence your rankings. and they require quite a bit of expertise in building along with social media so that you could find the correct types of backlinks, because this is where actually a lot of black hat SEO comes into play. So you want to be able to do this correctly. And then, of course, you'll need to track what's happening with your website. And one way to do that is through Google Analytics. One of the most important aspects of online marketing is tracking. So Google Analytics can help you understand key metrics like sessions, bounce rate, unique page views, and other types of metrics that can that allow you to further analyze data and evaluate performance. Okay, some pitfalls to avoid with SEO. Some black hat SEO tactics. So black hat refers to anything that it doesn't comply with best practices with Google's guidelines. So unfortunately, Google is, the big behemoth that we all have to play by the rules with. And so anything that goes against that is considered black hat SEO. And actually, Yahoo and Bing generally follow those rules as well, since Google has kind of set the precedent. So if you are caught with these black hat tactics, you may receive what is called a manual penalty. That's the worst type of penalty you can have, where your site is actually absolutely de-indexed. You cannot be found unless you know the name or the URL of your website exactly as it is, and then you can find it. But even just Googling your name would not yield your practice website, which is pretty bad. Other more minor types of penalties are just appearing very low in search rankings, maybe pages 50 plus. Something is definitely wrong, but it's not as bad as being completely de-indexed. The other thing you should avoid is lacking original content. So it's always best to just have your own content, because you are unique. You are your own practice. You are not the same person as the person down the street or the dentist down the street. So just from a user perspective, they want to know more about you and not, what Dr. John down the street also offers, right? You want to differentiate yourself. And Google rewards that. It's more likely to rank websites that are a little higher, rank websites higher if you have your own website and you have taken the time to personalize it. All right, so here are a few more resources for SEO. I didn't go too much into depth because we actually have other webinars that go into more detail about SEO, because really I can talk about this, for a whole day straight. So in order to get started, I would highly recommend that you look into how to improve your dental website's rankings in 2016 and beyond. This is still very relevant, even though, it was written last year. So start there. It's a series of 5 blog posts that really break down which factors are important to SEO and how you can implement them into your website. I would also highly recommend that you look at duplicate listings and why they're bad for your dental practice. This is referring to having multiple business listings in Google Maps for your same practice. And it'll basically go into detail on why that's bad for your practice and what you can do to fix it. And then it'll give you some common scenarios on why that happens. And then, of course, if you want a little bit more reading on it, download this white paper, Local Search and How It's Affecting Your Practice. All right, so let's move on to social media. So why you need it. Let's talk about why you need social media. One, it's to stay top of mind on your patient site. It's a way to delight current patients and help retain the patients that you worked so hard to get. And having an active social media presence actually conveys trust and boosts visibility. It's also for customer service, which just plays into patient retention, because engaging with people through social media shows that you listen and you care. It's also advertising with warm leads. So having a strong base of loyal followers will help you spread the word about your practice. So really, social media is just a way to encourage word-of-mouth marketing in the 21st century. So if you think about it from that perspective, you want to ensure that you're there when people are talking about you, and it happens a lot. There have been a few times on my own feed when people look for what is called they look for recommendations, and Facebook will actually make it stand out. It will point it out and say, looking for recommendations in New York. If someone is actually just posted something that says, hey, I'm looking for an ice cream shop in New York City. Anyone know of one? And then Facebook will actually highlight that and it will show up on people's news feeds, and then people can then tag the businesses that they are recommending. That's a warm lead to you, and that's like instant word of mouth marketing. All right, so some things to consider first and foremost is to determine your channels. You do not need to be everywhere in order to be effective. Just pick one or two that you can manage, because managing 5 or 6 social media accounts is, ineffective, and it takes a lot of time. And your RDHs have better things to do than to just be creating a bunch of social media content. All right, so a few considerations with Facebook is primarily the one that's pushed most for dentists, and really it's ideal because it's ideal if you can only manage one channel. You're probably going to get the most bang for your buck on Facebook because it does have one of the largest followings of any network, ranging from, teens to grandparents. So it's a very good place to start. It allows posts of any length, so you're not restricted that way, and you can encourage patients to leave reviews on your Facebook page as well, so it kind of doubles as a review site. The next is probably going to be Twitter. It's primarily for conversation and current events, so anything you post here has to be a little bit more topical. Steer away from really on any social media from anything too politically driven. Tread lightly when it comes to it, especially right now. And with Twitter, quick responses are best. There is a limit, a 140 character limit that can further be limited if you add anything like a video or a picture. So it has to be a very short statement. And sometimes, honestly, it's a little harder to get that out on Twitter, to create a post on Twitter, because you have to think about, how to structure it so that it fits within the character limit. The next is going to be Instagram, and Instagram is great because dentists actually have a lot of great moments in their office that they could showcase. So a few being, before and after photos or new equipment, but even, first time smile reveals. You know how you get really emotional when somebody looks at their smile and they maybe haven't had teeth for a few years, and they look at their mouth and they finally can eat and they get really emotional. That's great social media content. So if you have the patient's permission, Instagram is definitely the one that you would want to put it onto. And if you're managing multiple social media accounts, you can actually connect Instagram and Facebook together so that when you post on Instagram, it'll show on Facebook. And then that way you don't have to worry about double posting it. And then the next is going to be YouTube. Here you can post content about your dental practice or some tips. Maybe you have a happy birthday email that you want to send out. You can host a live video on YouTube wishing patients a happy birthday and send that out through email. You can also share educational how-to videos. So you maybe share, the proper way of flossing, or, maybe you can demonstrate new products that you have or new teeth whitening products that you have in your office. You can demonstrate, before and afters or anything like that with a slideshow. So YouTube is very versatile. It's probably harder to come up with content because it is all video based, but it's since it is a Google product, it's worth considering. All right, so things to consider when it comes to social media. Building out your profiles is definitely a big one. Once you decide which social media platform you want to use, and it can just be Facebook if you want, you want to put your best foot forward by providing as much information about your practice as possible, which even includes basic information like your hours, your website URL, your dentist's name, your name, your RDH's name, just having basic information like that. Even the services you offer are useful. You should also consider what you post and when. So be very intentional with what you post and how often you do so. Quality, relevance, originality, and consistency are the 4 keys to succeeding in social media. So I'm going to show you a few examples on what that means. The first being this one. This can be original or shared educational content. It helps establish yourself as an authority in your field when you share this type of content. You can create original and useful information, whether it be through a blog post or just a simple post on Facebook or wherever it may be, to share a highly trusted source and add unique insight from your perspective. So there could be, an article that was just put out. Let's take, for example, the one that was put out, I believe, by AP that said flossing didn't make that much of a difference, right? It was went viral on social media, and people were like, wait, what? Has my dentist been lying to me? You could have taken that opportunity, posted the article that argued that the study showed that flossing really didn't have any benefits, and said, well, actually, yes, it does, and argued that. So that's one way you could do this. Just make sure that you convey a tone of professionalism and continued learning and genuine medical concern. Okay, the next is original branding content, and this can be just yourself around your office. This type of content are pictures of you, your office, or patients with testimonials, shout outs, smile reveals. Those are super emotional. I know I tear up a little bit every time I see them. And positive messages that help develop your brand. This type of content is inspirational, funny, heartwarming, and really conveys your personality. And don't be surprised if this content gets shared more often than promotional posts. After all, people do go to social media to blow off whatever else is happening in their lives. So, anything with a sort of heartwarming emotional response is typically going to get the most engagement. All right, so the other is semi-relevant content. Something that somewhat matches dentistry is, perfectly fine. Not everything has to be just about dentistry. Even like it could be about your community. So, for example, Dentists Without Borders. Maybe you participated in it, or maybe someone in your community participated in it, and you wanted to help spread the word. You can share that type of information. It's a good place for current news, local event info, like I said, and other topics that can be tied with dentistry. All right, so some pitfalls to avoid. The first one being an inconsistent schedule. So this means consistently posting on your social pages, and that's actually very important because social media algorithms tend to reward anyone that's posting a little bit more consistently as long as they don't overdo it. So it is a balance. But essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to have a sustainable and realistic posting schedule. Try to post throughout each week, posting, 10 times a day is considered spammy, so avoid that. Just, find that balance, and you should be fine. So that leads me to the next one is spam posting. So spam posting, what that can result in is actually by sharing irrelevant or potentially offensive content, it could cause people to unfollow your page or profile, and social media platforms take that as a signal is if you do it too much, they're probably not going to show your content as often, even if you are posting, because they will prioritize what content shows on people's news feeds. The other is an unbalanced community management. So, more often than not, you'll get people that will, say some things that are not very nice, and they may leave a review on social media. So just ensure to respond sincerely and move the conversation offline as quickly as possible. Even if you disagree with the review, don't attack the reviewer, and always say thank you for your feedback. It's kind of hard to hear that someone was unhappy with your service, and it really is. But one thing that I actually learned, sometimes you can benefit from having just a cool off period, both for the reviewer and yourself. And so maybe just give it a couple hours, maybe even a day, and then come back to the review and respond when you're a little bit more centered and not as emotional. Okay, so a couple of resources I'd highly recommend for here is 5 common questions about social media for dental practices. These are common questions that, some of you guys have had in past webinars, and, maybe this can help answer some questions you may be having right now. And the next one that I highly recommend is 30 great social media post ideas for dentists. If you have creative block, and you've just run out of ideas, or you don't know where to start, wherever it may be, hopefully this will get your, brainstorming juices flowing. And then if you want to learn a little bit more about social media, then you can download this white paper here. All right, so let's talk about pay-per-click advertising. So what that is referring to is, I can actually show you guys. So let's go here. All right, so say dentist in Los Angeles. That's where I am. All right, so let's do it incognito. See this right here? block. This right here is an ad, and that is what pay-per-click does, is it shows me this ad right here, okay? So you can see it's an ad because it has this little icon. With SEO and organic listings, that's anything below an ad. So that includes this map listing and anything down here. Okay? So let's go back to pay-per-click. Okay, so why you need it. So I recently did a lecture in LA, and I actually had a interesting question. Someone raised their hand and said, well, I don't want to do advertising because it looks kind of, like I need to advertise, like I didn't earn my placement in a search engine results page, which is a fair question. It's a fair assumption. But the thing is that when patients are searching for you, these ads are so targeted that it could trigger them to click on that. And as you saw yourself in the live page that I just pulled up, it's very subtle. You have that very small icon that says it's an ad because legally Google's supposed to tell you when it's an ad, but a lot of people just really can't tell the difference anymore. So once you get that, prejudice out of the way, a couple of reasons why you need it is, first of all, you can build awareness with it. You can get your practice in front of potential patients without them looking for you, and then instead you go to them with paid reach. The other is that it complements SEO very well, actually. So Google AdWords is the fastest method to generate website traffic and test your SEO strategies. And you can do that in a variety of ways. So the next is going to be increasing your geographic reach. So where SEO is very hyper-localized, so you'll only get results based on your GPS location, because a lot of devices have a GPS tracker now. They know where you are in the world. And so Google will take that information and recommend local businesses around you because that's likely what's most relevant, right? The thing about pay-per-click is it doesn't have that hurdle, right? You're not limited by that. You can target surrounding areas in your neighborhood that you believe are more profitable prospective patients. So for example, I'm in LA, right? And let's say I am in the Valley somewhere, but I really want to start pushing more cosmetic services. Maybe I'm going to use pay-per-click to target more affluent communities in Los Angeles, like West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, that's how you could do that. If I were to do that with SEO alone, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to do. So pay-per-click can actually help you extend your reach. The next is going to be tracking patient leads and improving ROI. Pay-per-click advertising allows you to track the journey of your patient leads more accurately than just using Google Analytics alone, because they actually have a dedicated dashboard that allows you to understand what's happening. And it's because it is something that you pay into, that you pay to play, Google is willing to give you a little bit more information on what is happening, whereas with SEO, there is some level of educated guessing based on the information that Google provides. They tend to hide a little bit more when it comes to organic listings. So some things to consider when you're setting up, if you want to move forward with pay-per-click, is your AdWords account. So in order to run pay-per-click campaigns, you need an AdWords account with proper campaign and ad group structure. So that matters. It can factor into how you spend your budget and what your advertising spend is going toward, and it can help you monitor or distribute your spend however you want to. So that's going to be important in setting that, and setting that up properly. The next is going to be keyword research. And AdWords actually gives you a free keyword planner to help you discover keywords that are related to your services. So just like with SEO, you want to use the words that people are using in order to find you and implement them into your ads and into your landing pages. And then something that is actually unique to pay-per-click are negative keywords. So negative keywords are actually words that you don't want to show up for. So, maybe you don't want to show up for free dental services. And, there are a plethora of other keywords that you could choose from, but essentially these are the people that you want to stay away from. And what this does is it helps you avoid wasting your budget because you may be getting clicks from irrelevant searchers. All right, so another thing you should consider is maintaining your quality scores. So a quality score is basically Google telling you how well you put together an ad, right? And so that helps you filter out irrelevant information the better you get at it. So maintain a high quality score will actually also help you show up higher in higher positions without having to pay as much. So if you have a good quality score, that will actually make your advertising less expensive. And then the next is to test. The great thing about PPC is that it's very easy to do any type of A/B testing, and you can figure out which verbiage or what you say actually has more of an impact than something else you might say. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so as you can see, the ad is shown. It's very similar to how organic listings are set up. There's blue text right here, and then there's the URL, and then what was a meta description here is just a description. So here we have a hypothetical test where we are testing a similar ad text with different headlines. So the blue is going to be different, but everything else has to be the same. That way you know whether this has an impact, and if so, how it's working. This one is trying to figure out which location or how they describe the location is actually resonating. So this practice uses location in the headline, and the other uses popular procedures in the headline, actually. So testing revealed that the ad with the location in the headline generated more clicks, and that's actually shown with what is called a metric called click-through rate. So the one with a higher click-through rate is potentially the winner, and in this case, I think it was this one. Yeah, it was the Bay Area dentist. Okay, so from there, you can actually build off of it, right? The Bay Area dentist had the higher click-through rate, so then what's the next step? Now we try to evaluate whether saying Bay Area is more effective or San Francisco. So again, as you can see, the green and the gray text stayed the same, but the headline is still being tested, so that's the only variable. In this case, Bay Area still delivered more clicks over San Francisco. So in that case, then, the Bay Area ad is still the winner. From there, you can probably go on to test Bay Area versus Oakland, or maybe you'll find something else that you could test. That is essentially how an A/B test works, and it's very easy to figure out within a couple of weeks of data which is going to be the most effective. Now, this matters because essentially what testing does is it helps you narrow down and figure out how to get the most bang for your buck. And that's really what you're trying to do, right? All right, the other thing is going to be a couple of things to consider is selecting your targets. Targeting helps you keep your ads from appearing to the wrong searchers and essentially wasting money. So that will depend on the keywords that you bid on, income brackets, and geographical location. Each will be priced differently, and you can bid differently depending on what you're wanting to target. So it's just a few things to look at. And then finally, the fee structuring of PPC consultants. It does take a lot of effort and knowledge to set up, run, and optimize AdWords campaigns and landing pages and basically everything. So if you're hiring a PPC company, they'll typically fall into two different types of fee structures, one of being a percentage of your ad spend and monthly fees. Ideally, you'll want to go with someone that has a flat fee, a flat monthly fee, because then they're not incentivized to have you spend more. Because, as you spend more and they're taking a percentage, then their percentage or what they ultimately take out is higher. Okay, so a couple of pitfalls to avoid is out of control spending, of course, and you can control all of that by monitoring your daily and monthly budgets and bid adjustments that I touched on. The other thing you can do is, or you should avoid, is breaking AdWords rules. So Google actually has a lot of policies of what you can and can't say in your ads, one of which being like branding names. So saying anything like Invisalign or CEREC in your ad may get flagged, and Google will not allow you to use that. You can target those keywords, you just can't say it in your ad. And then the next is having inaccurate landing pages. So ideally, every ad group you run should have its own specific landing page that relates to the ad. It's very tempting to just pick a page from your website and create a bunch of ads to it, but sometimes that doesn't make sense for advertising. Like, I don't want to be searching for dental implants, right? And then get sent to a page about, I don't know, just general dentistry. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for, so I'm probably just going to leave. All right, so here are a couple of resources. Pay-per-click is a little harder to grasp, so in this case, I would actually recommend that you download the white paper first and then move on to the blog articles. All right, so as you guys know, we're here to help you. If you would like to contact us on your help, we offer services on everything that I just mentioned and even marketing ROI. So we actually have this really cool dashboard that will tell you where your dollars are going in marketing and how you're spending it. So you know that quote, I don't know if you've heard this, but there's a quote that says, I know that 50% of my marketing is not working. I just don't know which 50%. Marketing ROI dashboard helps you figure out which, hopefully more than 50, but which 50% is working. If you are interested in any of our services, or even if you're maybe considering SEO, right now is the time to do it, especially because it does take a while to take into effect. So, feel free to reach out. Our phone number is right here, and then you can speak to an internet marketing advisor, an account advisor that will help you figure out what it is that you need. You may just need a dental website revamp, or maybe you just want to try out pay-per-click, whatever it may be. Talk to them, be very honest in your conversation on what you're trying to achieve in your marketing, and they can help you steer you in the right direction. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take some questions in a live Q&A. So if you look at your GoToWebinar panel, you'll see a spot that says questions. You go ahead and enter your question there, and I will go ahead and answer that right now. All right, so I'll give you guys just a minute. Okay, so here's a good question that I typically get. Is it important to have a website or social media profiles? So typically to that, I would say, one, you should always have a website. It's important because it's really the hub of all of your marketing activities, whether online or offline. Like even if you send a postcard, people are going to want to have a website to reference to learn more, right? So whatever marketing you're doing, you want a website. I would definitely encourage you to have some sort of social media presence. If you don't know where to start, then I would start with Facebook. Like I said, it has the broadest audience, and so that's probably one where will have a best bet. Okay, so the other one that I typically get is it possible to have too many keywords? The answer is yes. So when you're writing your website copy, first and foremost, you want your copy to sound natural, right? So at this point, if you're getting ready to write your website copy, you've already researched which keywords have the most volume, like the most searches, and you'll know which keywords you want to target by implementing them into your copy. What you want to avoid, and what I have seen, is people that, or dentists that write their copy and it just sounds a little awkward. It's way too, the sentence structure is a little weird and they want to repeat the same keyword over and over again, so it ends up sounding a little awkward. And so, with Google, as long as the keywords are related to each other, they know that it's the intent behind the keyword. So having a couple of variations, so like saying dentist and Temecula or Temecula dentist, that's all the same to Google. And putting that, having a variation in the structure and how you set up the keywords is fine. So don't overstuff with keywords. It's going to sound spammy. People know when you're trying to over-optimize, and so you want to stay away from that. Oh, here's a good question. Let's see. Is an AdWords account a part of Google Analytics? What's the best way to begin to understand and implement a strategy? Okay, so let's take that first part. An AdWords account is actually separate from Google Analytics. Google Analytics is your standard free website analytics dashboard. It will tell you anything you want to know about the traffic going to your website. The reason that needs to be separated from an AdWords account and all of the metrics within an AdWords account is because anything found within AdWords are all going to be advertising metrics. And while the terminology may be very similar, you're going to be looking at different things that are highlighted, so that needs to be separated. Okay, so when you run a pay-per-click advertising campaign, you'll automatically have an AdWords dashboard, and you can connect it to Google Analytics, but they're essentially separate. And the best way to begin to understand and implement a pay-per-click advertising strategy, I would highly recommend that you download our white paper to understand what it takes and to really help you understand the resources that are needed to go into that. And from there, you can decide whether that's the way that you want to go. If you don't really want to have to spend on AdWords, you can try and look into search engine optimization. But again, that will take a few months to take into effect. But one thing that I can give you is, let's go ahead and do this. All right, if you guys can see my screen, gybo.com. So part of having a great search engine optimization strategy is understanding where your Google Maps listing is and whether it's optimized. So that's just a freebie that I'm going to give you right now. You can totally do this. It's super easy to do. You just go to Get Your Business Online, and let's go to, let's see, view my listing, enter your business name. So, I don't know, it's John DDS, see what comes up. All right, here's one. All right, so see, as you can see here, John Law DDS, first of all, his name is backwards, so he'll want to fix that. And it looks like it tells you your business info might be incorrect on Google, and this will actually walk John through the process of claiming and verifying your listing. The reason that's important is because, let's go back to Dentist in Los Angeles. It's important because once you've cleaned that up, you're more likely to show up here, front and center, on a search engine results page in the map section. So overall, PPC strategy, download the white paper, educate yourself on the resources needed. If you need some help, please feel free to contact us. I'll go ahead and pull up that number again, and then, you know, be very honest in what you want from your marketing strategy, and then again, our internet marketing advisors can steer you in the right direction. All right, so I think we have time for one more question. Here's an interesting one. Do hashtags help an SEO strategy? And the answer to that is not directly. Those are two separate things, but what it can do is, the thing is about digital marketing, and it doesn't all happen in a vacuum, right? So if you do pay-per-click advertising, you may end up seeing a little bit more lift from your organic traffic because people start to recognize your name, and they may click on your organic listing rather than your paid listing, which is good for you because you end up saving a few bucks. And then, you know, if they recognize you through search, they may recognize you on social media if they happen to run into your social media. The thing about hashtags is that what it does is it helps sort of curate the content on social media. So if you use a hashtag in your posts, so let's say, for example, you know, something about braces, like say you removed braces, right? So if you hashtag it like brace removal or whatever it may be, and that's, you know, and you put up a few pictures on your blog about all of the patients that have had their braces removed recently, that can actually help you generate traffic to your blog, and people will start reading and sort of clicking around, and that may lift some of your traffic and create positive signals for Google that that page is worth crawling, and then, you know, it'll end up finding it, and it's a really good way to bring some traffic into your website. So while hashtags do not directly influence SEO in any way, you know, it is a really good way to just generate some traffic. Okay, so I think we're about done. I'm going to go ahead and hang on for a couple more minutes if you guys have any last minute questions, but at this point I am going to conclude the presentation. Again, you will be receiving this recording in your inbox the following day, so at this point I'd like to thank everyone for joining, and I hope to see or to have you join soon to another webinar. Thank you.